There was a point in time when NBA centers would get benched for shooting outside the three-point line, but times have changed drastically. Not only that isn't the rule anymore, it's actually one of the most desired traits in a big man today. Why? Because Curry's basketball revolution didn't impact just the guards, but the center position as well. Modern offense doesn't rely on centers the same way it used to. The era of just feeding the ball down to the post is over since everyone's shooting threes. Besides Steph, one of the main guys to blame for this is none other than Wemby. Even before he got into the league, we all knew he was special. The question regarding his physical strength is no longer a topic since Wemby didn't just play toe-to-toe against a muscle mountain like Giannis last season, but also added 25 pounds between his rookie and sophomore year. No player before him ended in second in Defensive Player of the Year voting as a rookie. Hakeem was the closest, ending up fourth, and David Robinson sixth. That's it. No Shaq, no Kareem, no Scottie Pippen. This kid is something else, and everyone's wondering where's the exact ceiling to his greatness. Hello basketball fans, and welcome to Hoop Vision. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It takes only a second, costs nothing, and will give you access to more basketball stories. It may seem like the trend of big men shooting threes happened overnight, but instead, it was a years-long process to catch up with the fast-paced basketball Golden State introduced us to. Small ball lineups became more and more popular, and coaches figured out 40% from threes equaled the same amount of points as 60% from the field. What they also figured out is that it takes way less effort to shoot a three-pointer than to wrestle with a 7-footer under the basket. This led to one of the biggest transformations in the history of our beloved sport. And besides Coach Kerr, one of the pioneers of it was Coach Kenny Atkinson, who was also a part of the Warriors staff in the 2022 championship run. What was his role in it? Let us explain. In 2016, Atkinson took on his first NBA head coach role for the Brooklyn Nets. It was the first time he was the one with the board calling all the shots. Before that, he was an assistant to Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta, and if you remember, that was the period Al Horford significantly improved his shooting percentages. The man responsible for it? Kenny Atkinson. So, naturally, he wanted to do the same as a head coach, but there was one problem. His first center was Brook Lopez, who shot 24 threes in total over 8 seasons of his career. Still, the coach took it as a challenge. Instead of forcing him to play the classic back-to-the-basket game, he asked Lopez to stretch the floor and wait behind the arc. Despite the idea sounding crazy at first, it worked. Brook Lopez became a 34.6% threat from three-point range on 387 attempts, most of any center that year. Unfortunately, he got traded the very next season, but the newly found confidence followed him later in his career. Even after winning the championship with Milwaukee, Lopez expressed gratitude towards his coach, saying he changed his career forever. But not only that, he started to shift towards how people started seeing centers in general. When we connect this story to Wemby, we see the importance of guys like Brook Lopez and others that followed. If Wemby came into the league in 2016 instead of 2023, who knows how much time would pass before someone would get the idea of giving him the freedom to shoot three-pointers. Instead, it's normal. Today, we don't cover our eyes when centers take a long-distance shot, but we expect them to make it. For now, Wemby shoots around 33% beyond the arc, and if he can up that to at least 36 to 37% as time goes on, he'll definitely erase the barrier big men have carried for as long as we can remember. When you hear the next stat, you'll realize just how much basketball has changed. Wemby averaged 5.5 three-point attempts in his rookie year. Why is that such a big deal? Because it took Ray Allen 5 full seasons to reach the same number of attempts per game. Yes, one of the best shooters in history wasn't given the same freedom as a 7'3" center. Sure, it's fair to say Ray Allen wasn't yet the shooter we got to know later, but still, he shot almost 40% for three and didn't get nearly the same treatment. This just shows you NBA centers are never going back to what they were, especially when they've realized how easier it is to learn shooting than take elbows below the rim, which takes us to our next point. The dominance we've seen from Shaq and other centers like Wilt, Kareem, and Dwight Howard are probably never going to happen again. If you go back in time, the way basketball was played around big men like them was to get them the ball and let them do their thing. Unfortunately, this type of play had a couple of flaws. First, the teams would sign a couple of 7-footers just for fouls and slow down the game as much as possible with hack-a-Shaq. Second, the dominance was mostly dependent on their physical attributes, which doesn't last long, especially if injuries happen. On the other hand, having a soft touch on your shot can significantly prolong the career way into the 30s. Past his prime, Shaq was more of a big teddy bear rather than the Diesel. Dwight Howard was also nowhere near the level he was at after the back surgery in 2012. Just imagine if they were better shooters, the game wouldn't be fair at that point. If we compare Wemby to the all-time great centers, it's easy to see he doesn't have their strength, but it's not like he'll ever need it. Yes, he won't just go around and shoot threes, but it's not like he can post up any of today's centers simply due to his size. If Kareem's skyhook was impossible to defend, just imagine what Wemby could do by developing a similar game, in addition to being able to shoot and pass like he does. There's some people saying Dirk was the original shooting big man, but if you take a look at his career, he almost never played like a traditional center. First, he had Sean Bradley, then Eric Dampier, and Tyson Chandler. There was always someone anchoring the defense because Dirk just wasn't able to. Sure, he made up for that on offense, but he was no center in any sense of the word. Wemby is in another universe defensively, so it's just a question of how many Defensive Player of the Years he'll win before the end of his career. Also, no player of his height was skilled with the ball in his hands as him. We had giants like George Murrayson, Boban, and Yao Ming, but they were all very limited in terms of movement and other basketball aspects. With Wemby, it seems like he can do it all. Having a 7'3" point guard is something you can't compete with. He can shoot, pass, rebound, go behind the back, and block when needed, so the only thing left for Spurs is to surround him with more talent. This is where the franchise has pulled off a brilliant move by bringing Chris Paul. No, Paul's not the talent to get Wemby a ring, at least not in the short run. You see, Paul signed with the Spurs on a $10 million deal that's putting him just within that mid-level exception category, meaning there are no limits for trading him. This way, if CP3 has a great season being 39 years old, they can use the increase of his stock and trade him to a contending team for future assets, like younger guys or picks to pair up with Wemby. If not, they still get to run pick and rolls with one of the most experienced point guards in the history of the NBA, giving Wemby a precious learning opportunity. In the current scheme of things, San Antonio isn't even close to competing for a championship, but they're doing a great job of building for their future. Wemby is playing against the Joker, Embiid, Giannis, AD, getting more than valuable experience. In 5 years, the NBA will look so much different than today, so that's where he'll have his chance to shine and take over the league. Steph, LeBron, and KD will be retired, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid will be veterans, and SGA, Luka, Edwards, and Tatum will probably be the faces of basketball. Add Wemby versus Chet Holmgren rivalry, and you have a more than interesting league to watch. They're almost the same in every category, except that Chet had a chance of playing with much better guys around him right from the start. Still, that doesn't have to mean anything for the later parts of their careers, especially championships. The Spurs are locked at 5 titles right now, so it'll be fun to watch how many Wemby can add to their trophy cabinet. Even if by some miracle he goes without winning one, he'll definitely set a standard when it comes to how players are selected for the center position in the future. The days of just being big and strong are over, and this young French kid will make sure things stay that way. That's it for today, Hoop Fam. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments, how far do you think Wemby can go? Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.